morning and welcome to another installment of Commodify, where I, your host, Thomas Halliday, look into the ways in which different practices have been appropriated and commodified, where today we'll be taking a look at all things Tantric Sex. We are lucky today to have a large panel to consult with on the subject, and starting us off, we have Tantric academic Varsha Ramesh, who has an extensive knowledge of the original Tantric scripture and will now give us an overview of its contents.
Hi everyone, I'm Varsha. I'll start with the overview of what Tantra even is. It essentially means theory, doctrine, or book, and they most commonly refer to scriptural texts that were revealed by ancient Indian gods or goddesses. They started to appear around 600 AD and were actually continued to be written for the next few thousand years up until British imperialism. And it's all about just withdrawing into spiritual isolation, writing music, consuming the pleasures of worldly vices like alcohol, weed, which is sort of like a mythical sacrament of Aryans, predominantly what today you'd call like North Indians that identify with the moon, and just crossing of all sort of boundaries of taboo, caste, marriage, sex, law, and even life. So I think one of the most best known tantric scriptures actually is called the Mahanirvana Tantra, which was framed as a conversation between the god Shiva and the goddess Shakti, who I'll get into a little bit later. And this Tantra actually describes like the chakra ceremonies, different yogic practices, mantras for meditation, and just a summary of Dharma regarding sexual behavior. A lot of these tantras idolize and have heavy Kalima imagery. She's another iteration of the goddess Shakti. And just these traditions, I think a common misconception is it's just like one tradition. What's not? It's just an amalgamation of different traditions that are both written and some of them non-written. And they use various different words like Agama, Jnana, Siddhata, Vidya, and they all correspond to different like scriptures. So yeah, that's kind of just like the overview of what Tantra is from my perspective.
Thank you, Varsha. That was very interesting to find out just the roots of where it all comes from. We'll now talk to Amber White, the owner of MindBodyConnect, a small school that teaches the practices of Tantra and yoga specializing in full body energy release. Can you tell us what Tantra means to you and your school, Amber?
Hi, Thomas. Firstly, thank you for having me. For me, at least, and much of my audience, everyone I connect with, Tantra is in us. Tantra is everywhere. Tantra is in the universe. It's something that we connect with on an everyday basis, but sometimes you need that extra push to really release the energy. For me, Tantra is a full body orgasm. It's just a way of living your most authentic life. At MindBodyConnect, we offer various services which just help people kind of reach their most authentic, raw way of living. It just heals the body in ways that people have never experienced before. And before I met Tantra, my life was so different. And now I am healed, and so many of my audience and all of my clients are living the best life where their energy is just flowing through them all the time. And I'm just so glad that I can have that impact on so many people's lives. Thanks, Thomas.
Well, thank you, Amber. That's a very interesting perspective, to say the least. Our next panelist is Poppy Thomson, apprentice from Agama under Swami Vivekananda, a well-known Tantric sex guru who is facing many sexual assault allegations. Please, Poppy, give us a rundown of what Agama stands for.
Hi, Thomas, and thank you for having me on the show. At Agama, We do believe in offering a truly authentic tantric sex path. We do believe that we've been given a responsibility to preserve tantric sex practices. So we're interested in cleansing psychological blockages. We want people to have better sex. Who's against good sex? And lots of other things, addressing the body, energy, emotions, and the mind. We are, of course, facing some sexual assault allegations. Swami Vivekananda is a very complex guru, and Agama is doing our absolute best to address all of these issues and continue on our tantric sex pathway.
Thank you. The last member of our panel is Dr. Jessica Lin, who will give us a scientific perspective of what Tantra is and what happens during the Tantric experience.
Yeah, hi, Thomas. Thank you for having me here. Yeah, all I know about Tantra is that it is a Buddhist spiritual practice at the origin. Tantric sex that we are talking about today is more like commodified version in Western world, and it seems like moving away from religious practice but become an alternative for seeking spiritual practice. But from my point of view, from a scientific perspective, I think it could be some kind of physiological treatment. And as far as I learned, that there are also some Tantra practice that are able to conduct online, and some advisors could have claimed that without physical touch and merely using the energy of the body could reach full body orgasm. And in this way, I think it is possible, and it's like an extreme of how you can utilize your brain and mind to concentrate on the body to reach full body orgasm. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Lin. That was very good to hear a scientifically backed understanding of what Tantra is. Now, back to Varsha. Can you give us your interpretation of the practices that have been portrayed by some of our panelists and they're selling to the world?
Yeah, sure, totally. From what I can see right now, or what I've heard so far from other panelists, is what I would personally denote as Neo-Tantra. These iterations of Tantra I cannot accept, and I don't think they should be accepted as something that is what Tantra is, because, I mean, of course, it involves sex, but these scriptures known as Tantras are, the originals at least, tend to be heavily focused on the description of ritual, meditative, and other yogic practices. And these traditions tend to heavily be practice orientated, with the goals ranging from things such as worldly success to ultimate liberation. And it's just, it completely ignores the extensive history behind it and the law, if I can put it as that, of tantric sex. Just one of these is how the original rituals practiced by those in Vedic times, they employ bodily fluids and energies to bring this sort of contentment to goddess Kali by performing these sex rituals. And just from what I can tell, it mentions none of the spiritual aspect or the embracing of the shadows within oneself, and the other powerful spirits that most of the gurus who used to practice this take. And it's really, yeah, these are totally fine to label as Tantra, but you can't necessarily take them as what it used to be. These have to be labeled and practiced under the subsection of Neo-Tantra, I think, because it just would not be right to label it as something that it's not. So thank you for that.
Interesting. So you would say that what these places are practicing is still Tantra, but it's just Neo-Tantra. Would you say that Tantra is taking a different turn in the modern world, and this is where the way it is going, rather than the original practices that involve bodily fluid and the spiritual repercussions of it?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's a product of British colonialism, and the mere fact that you have barely any people back in the birthplace of Tantra practicing these traditions has to say something towards it. I mean, you go to India and you don't have many people who believe, who even think of the original practices, and then you go to the West and it's all about, it's just sex. I mean, that's not Tantra. So that's just not Tantra. It's a form of it, but it's not the original.
Thank you. Amber, could you please give us a response to some of these claims made by Varsha? You could say ignorance to the original Tantric scripture and the way that you've now practicing it in a neo sense.
Yeah, of course. I personally feel very passionate about this. It's something that I face quite common actually in society, backlash, constructive criticism, they like to say. However, I just feel as though, so Varsha, what you're kind of talking about, I just feel as if my audience and my clients today, myself even, we require a more Western and updated method of energy release. And in all due respect, it's a very patriarchal way of looking at Tantra. And I think that it's necessary in today's world to kind of localize and, glocalize the practice in a way that meets the current needs of today. And in a world full of hate, love is so important. And that's the most crucial part of living. It's what I do for my clients is an energy release that can only be felt through Tantra. And I would say that it's the most authentic method of Tantra because it produces the most authentic benefits. And that's just the facts of it. You live in a new age, and you need to present a Western way of doing things and living, and it needs to match what we need as humans, and that is a full body orgasm through Tantra.
Thank you, Amber. Could you just give us some detail of what experiences your customers are actually expected to have at your practice, just so our audience can have an idea of the differences between what Varsha has shown us with the original scripture and what you're practicing in your modernized version per se?
Of course, yes. So my services, firstly, I do offer couples Tantra and couples counseling. I also offer individual counseling. And I would say that both kind of have different benefits to each. I actually receive and I help a lot of clients who have been traumatized sexually in their past, a lot of sexual assault survivors, incredible, powerful human beings who just need to release that tension and that buildup of energy in their bodies that weighs on them in everyday life. So what I do for them is I have a way of connecting with their energy in their body. I don't use physical touch unless necessary. I use my energy and I connect with theirs, and I move it around their body so that it releases in the areas needed. And they walk away from these sessions just feeling lighter with an experience that nothing else can provide them. I feel as though if you or anyone have like this buildup of tension or history of trauma, Tantra is the way to fix that. It is a way of healing, and that is what I provide for people. In couples, when they struggle with feeling sexually connected and emotionally raw with one another, I help them reach that. I I get them to open up to each other, to connect with each other's energy in so many more ways than just penetrative sex. That is not the most important thing in a relationship. It is connecting with your energy and having a full body orgasm, not just a vaginal or a penile or whatever orgasm. It's through every limb in your body. It is through your soul. It is through your heart. It is through your mind. And that is why I'm called MindBodyConnect, because you need to connect with your body to really release the tension. And people don't understand this. And people need to open up their minds and experience this full body orgasm, because it's the key to happiness. It is the key to love. It is the key to releasing energy that you build up throughout your life. For the price that it is so worth it. You need to invest in yourself, and that is what I help people do.
Can I just say, what is the price?
Right, yes. So me at MindBodyConnect, I like to provide people with the most experience for the price, because I believe everyone needs the chance to experience a full body orgasm and the energy release I'm just talking about. So what I provide is $400 a session. So that's individual or couple. I receive a lot of couples who would like a year-long course. So the cost for the year-long course is $4,800 per couple, or alternatively $400 per month.
Okay. You very much so are really getting across the message that you want everyone to experience this energy connect with their loved one, or just a full body orgasm.
Definitely.
What do you say to the people that can't pay for this? People who are less fortunate to have, say, $400 a session, or even $4,800 for an entire year-long course?
Yeah, that's a hard one. However, I believe that there is other energy work you can do as long as you're focusing on the energy aspect. However, it's, if you're not going to invest in yourself and your soul and the connection between your mind and your body, then if you're paying for eating out every weekend, if you're getting other services, then why are you depriving your body of a release of energy and tension that most likely you've been needing in your soul for your whole life? For me, if you really cared, you would invest in yourself and that connection.
Hi, can I just jump in real quick? I just wanted to address some of Amber's claims from before about the original being too patriarchal, as you put it. I really, really don't agree with that at all. And the fact that you insinuated that what the world needs, or what you need, is a westernized form of this ancient cultural practice is, I find that quite disrespectful. Because one, let me just address the patriarchal aspect of it. See, I feel like that is definitely a product of this, again, this westernization of original practice. Because yes, the Western interpretation of Tantra has hints of patriarchy, because it echoes of male-aligned seed or sperm being the ultimate source of life, with the female-aligned body only representing a receptacle to nurture it. But in the Hindu interpretation, in the original Indian, and in the Buddhist interpretation as well, it explicitly states that and emphasizes that the goddess Kali Ma, the feminine principle, is the ultimate creatress and the destructress of all phenomena that is, anything in this temporal sphere. So for you to claim that it's patriarchal that's a product of yourself. That's how you choose to view it, because once again, you ignore and neglect and push under the rug the original meaning, the Hindu meaning, the Buddhist meaning, and anything that stems from Tantra's birthplace. And again, with this pricing, I agree with Thomas in that if you believe that everyone should be able to experience this energy release, as you say. By the way, what energy, you still haven't really gone into that. Why is it so pricey? I don't understand. And you, once again, you refuse to teach people about the original scripture. Why do you insist on doing that? I don't understand.
Varsha, for me, personally, I would just like to say I will agree to disagree on this matter. I think that everyone, yes, deserves, right, the chance to experience this, but it's a new day, it's a new age. We're living in a new era of desire and need for a release of this tension, and what I provide is necessary for that. What the original, I'm not sweeping it under the rug.
I mean, you kind of are.
I'm updating it. I'm modernizing it.
Why does it need to be modernized?
Because we live in a Western world now, and people are living in it, and they need to act on it, and it's necessary. You can't expect people to take the same benefits as they once did. You need to give people that are living here in a Western world.
But you haven't given them the option to learn about the original, have you? You keep insinuating that this is a Western world. Not everyone lives in the Western world.
Okay, I think that this is kind of getting in my energy, my aura, my mind, my soul, and I can discuss this with you on a later date. However, I choose not to.
That's all right. Thank you, Amber.
Yeah, yeah, sorry, that's completely disrespectful.
No, that's all right, Amber. Thank you so much for giving us an insight into what you offer. And thank you, Varsha, for your opinions on the matter. So let's just move along to our next panelist. So, Amber, you've claimed that people have overcome past sexual trauma through your practice. However, Poppy, your school Agama has numerous sexual assault allegations. What does this say for the new age of Tantra?
That's a really great question, Thomas. I'd like to start off by just speaking to this idea of a new age and putting forth the idea that new ages are not easy to navigate, and there are going to be missteps. I would also like to immediately state that Agama does not endorse explicit sexual activities. Of course, the participants are free to have consensual sex if that's what they wish to do, but Agama does not actively endorse that, and that is explicitly stated on our website in the forms that obviously all entrants must sign before coming to our courses. And yes, Agama does not endorse unconsensual sexual activity.
Poppy, you're saying unconsensual sexual activity doesn't happen at Agama, but clearly this is inaccurate, as there are numerous sexual assault allegations.
Well, I would just like to say that the sexual assault allegations have actually not been proved yet. They are, as you said, allegations, and it's very tricky territory. But I'd like to just stress again that Agama does not endorse sexual assault, of course, and that's not what Tantra is about, and that's not the message that we wish to portray to our students.
Even though there are recordings of the Swami at Agama offering, and some would say gloating, about giving women a special massage. What's your opinion on this, on the recordings that have been found and the evidence of him giving people these inappropriate massages?
Well, the yoni massage is, I presume, what you are referring to.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot the word yoni.
Yes, Agama does not explicitly ever state that we offer these massages, and audio recordings. I mean, someone came into our school with false intentions, and there is no way to prove that these audio recordings are necessarily correct, and they were recorded with improper intent, and actually that itself is against the law. The Swami is a charismatic leader who wishes to give everyone a positive sexual experience. Again, Agama does not endorse the yoni massage or offer it or any group sexual encounters.
Of course. And just so we have a full understanding of what Agama is for, could you give us just a rundown of what you offer and the prices for the tantric experience that you're giving?
Well, at Agama, we offer a variety of activities and treatments. We offer hatha yoga, we offer meditation, we offer positive affirmation classes. We offer a variety of classes. One of the retreats we have is a 5-week sort of introduction to Tantra, because we believe it should be available to everyone. The pricing is difficult during coronavirus, of course, and we actually have some difficulty. I mean, you discussed this earlier with Amber, deciding on our prices, but the online course at the moment is $2,833 for the 5 weeks, but this is really a very all-consuming course. We offer a lot of workshops and classes. It's really a full-time program. Participants are not encouraged to commit to any outside work or other classes or have much contact with the outside world to experience the full nature of Tantra.
Wow, can I just say that is an astronomical figure for someone to pay to leave their job and come learn these practices. Varsha, could I just get your opinion on A, the prices, and B, the fact that Agama are claiming that they're teaching Tantra rather than what Amber is doing and practicing it?
Right. So I think it's definitely a step in the right direction with teaching, people what it's all about. But at the same time, I don't know how much I believe these so-called the falseness of these allegations that have been put against you, because once again, I mean, the Swami is a leader figure, and I just want to know how exactly you're calculating how people are coming in with false intentions. How are you able to measure that? There's no scientific way I can see of you already knowing that people want to come in and somehow ruin your business. Once again, there's this vulnerability aspect that people who are taking your classes have. There's a power imbalance between the both of you. So why should we all believe the Swami and you just because you're a business?
Well, all our teachers undergo very extensive training with the school. They are very well trained, and the Swami has actually released a statement saying he underestimated the impact of tantric sexual activities. Again, Tantra is to do with sex, and sex is a very complex activity. And as for knowing about people coming in with audio recordings, of course, we didn't know when they came in. Initially, we thought that they were just coming for one of our retreats. However, the fact that these have surfaced in such a manner proves that they came in with malintent.
Poppy, can I just say that you just said your Tantra is sex. You basically just said Tantra is sex, and there's a lot of just ways that can go. But then at the beginning of your statement, you said that it's all consensual.
It is all consensual. I think the problem is that in order to achieve a certain level of spiritual enlightenment, it's not easy. it's not an easy path. And
does that mean sexual assault?
Of course not. Of course it doesn't mean sexual assault. But Tantra can be very uncomfortable. And perhaps sometimes, even though we get people to sign waiver forms, of course, people don't really understand the extent of that and then become uncomfortable.
All right.
Well, isn't it your job to inform people of what they're getting into? Again, it's this power imbalance that I've talked about. If you're not giving people information, if you're not teaching people the right things, if you're not showing people the right forms, then how can you expect them to understand? They're coming in for A, but you're giving them B.
We tell them A and they don't understand that it's actually a bit of B, in the sense that we make everyone sign waiver forms and sometimes they don't understand what they're signing, or they think it's something else. We can't be in people's minds knowing, what they know and what they don't know. All we can do is try and state it as clearly as possible in these forms that we give people before they come to our retreats, which we really endeavor to do to the best of our ability.
Could I just ask, Amber, what's your opinion on this, considering you also have a practice? Do you make people sign waiver forms, and have you had any cases where sexual assault has come up? I know that you treat sexual trauma. Do you believe what is happening in Agama is completely wrong?
Personally, yes, as you said, I deal with and I heal a lot of people, that have been a victim to sexual assault, such as the people making claims against Poppy here. I think that the intention is there, and I'm obviously very passionate about the whole Tantra and energy release, etc. However, I just feel as though my intentions are pure as an individual and as someone that personally understands the vulnerability that you're giving, when you are participating in these practices. And that's why I personally offer individual and couple sessions. I do group online sessions as well. And everyone there is just, understanding and comfortable. And I think comfort is the biggest thing. I can't speak much for Poppy and her way of doing things. I think that it's not the most beneficial way, honestly. As I provide healing, and every person that I have dealt with has walked away living their most raw and authentic and connected self. They know who they are and they feel their body and they've had this tension release, whereas Poppy, you've kind of not there for you guys, unfortunately.
All right, Poppy, do you want to respond, or should we move on?
I think we should move on. No comment.
All right, so it's been really interesting to see the many ways that Tantra has been understood, and some could say misunderstood as well. We have, I don't know, maybe we have the old scripture that Varsha has given us, and then the new perspective of Amber, and then some would say a complete misunderstanding of what Tantra is with Poppy. I think we should move on to Dr. Lynn, who is going to give us a scientific side of these practices and maybe just some science behind orgasms in general.
Yeah, I can't speak much about the spiritual part of Tantra, but maybe science could be used to examine the physical phenomenon of orgasm and the myth of touch. So the first thing I want to address is different types of orgasm. Normally, we could classify orgasm as regular orgasm and full body orgasm. And regular orgasm is more from a medical perspective, and it simply means genital stimulation. And full body orgasm is more from a psychological perspective, and it could also relate to a person's emotional and cognitive changes. So apart from tension release and genital ejaculation, it has more to do with movement of energy and concentration of the body. So besides this, there are other types of orgasm, and I think that Tantric sex is related to relaxation orgasm, and it means orgasm that deriving from deep relaxation during sexual stimulation. So And as far as I know, what the Tantric advisor do is to help the client to relax both mentally and physically. And in this way, it might be more possible to reach full body orgasm. And for Tantra practice, and if that does not involve in any physical touch, it could be fantasy orgasm, and it stands for orgasms that resulting from just mentally stimulation. And also how the brain works when a person experiences orgasm. So during orgasm, your brain is working to produce a lot of different hormones and neurochemicals. They are called neurotransmitters. So sex hormones early in the life influence the development of your hypothalamus and other brain areas. So sexually dimorphic nucleus contributes to control of male sexual behavior. And one of these neurotransmitters is dopamine. Dopamine is a hormone that is responsible for feelings of pleasure, desire, and motivation. And a scientist have stated that orgasm causes an explosion of the neurotransmitter, and the dopamine in the brain could give rise to the feelings of ecstasy, and it could flush into the brain when one ingests cocaine or gambles. So in this case, it's medically considered as a facilitator of addiction. And another huge factor is oxytocin. Oxytocin is another neurotransmitter that is released when two people embrace. So it enhances the feeling of trust, of wellness, tranquility, and love. So with oxytocin, social and sexual intimacy becomes more pleasurable, and two people flush with oxytocin are more likely to bond together. It sort of creates a bondingness between the couples. Yeah, and the next part I want to talk about is the myth of physical touch. And even touch, like eye contact, could provide people with pleasure. And there is a touch research institute in University of Miami, and they have both like in lab and real life experiments around the world. And their research have shown that numerous evidence that all of us can benefit from increasing the amount of physical contact with our friends, lovers, and family, and with professional massage therapists. So, and even eye contact could have huge effect in Tantric sex. That I think one of the part of Tantric sex is it causes people to concentrate with the body and concentrate with the partner. So in Tantric sex, partners have more time to contemplate with each other, to literally stare into each other, or to massage. So several studies have shown that similarly, merely gazing into another person's eye for a length of time could increase the empathy and self-awareness. So it could also enhance the memory. So it eventually causes a person to view the other in a more positive light. And anthropologist Helen Fisher have also found that merely looking at a photograph of one's loved one could unleash a flood of neurochemicals. Yeah. And the last thing I want to address is that Tantra might probably be a treatment for male who have experienced premature ejaculation. And it has estimated that a third of American men who suffer from the problems with premature ejaculations, therapists, they might ask you to hold before you reach the climax. So it could be a valuable addition to the treatments. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Lin. I think you've just given us a really broad perspective of the research that is out there on Tantra. And I would really like to just have a little bit of a discussion about the research on no touch in like being able to release the neurotransmitters. And I think it'd be really interesting to have Poppy's perspective on this, given that her tantric practice does involve touch. Poppy, what's your thoughts on the fact that neurotransmitters can be released just through eye contact and doesn't actually require touch?
Oh, I absolutely believe that you can reach whole body orgasms and enlightenment without touch. Of course, we do offer that at Agama in workshops. It's a very, very important part of Tantra and the Tantric practice. It is also been proven that touch is beneficial for human health, and that is why we also explore pathways that do involve physical touch.
Thank you. Varsha, could I please have your opinion on the information that Dr. Lin has provided?
Yeah,
and how it
sure.
relates to the original scripture?
Sure. I'm really not much of a scientist myself, so I will take Jessica for her word in what she has said about the different hormones and chemicals that are produced during this full body orgasm. What I can say is that I think we should avoid interchanging full body orgasms with Tantra. You can have full body orgasms within tantric rituals, but I don't think that we should be exchanging them like they are the same.
Do you think it's then inappropriate for Amber to be selling her practice as a full body orgasm experience?
I mean, I have a lot of issues with Amber's business. MindBodyConnect, was it? Right. One of them, yes, definitely. It's just this false advertising, honestly. Because if you're going to label it as Tantra, at least try and go into the original scripture, what the original guru said, nothing. There's absolutely, in Amber's business, there's absolutely nothing to be said for Kalima and the way she is, the entire how should I put it, imagery of her is just completely erased from it. So I don't have any problem with what Amber's doing in the sense that she's helping people, but this false advertising of something that is not Tantra as Tantra is what I take an issue with.
Amber, do you care to respond, or?
I think that what I provide people is an energy release, and the way that may come across to you or other people, or how I'm naming it as Tantra, it's more important than that. What matters is that there is this energy in us, and we are this energy, and what I'm doing is releasing the tension and giving people these full body orgasm that is benefiting them in more ways than not. And to even cut me off and say that what I'm doing is bad because it's false advertising is incorrect. And
I never said what you're doing is wrong. I just said that you shouldn't be labeling something that's not Tantra as Tantra.
This is a new way of Tantra, and I stick by that. This is the Tantra that the world needs, and that I need, and that my clients and my audience need. That's all. That's
all right. Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
I think that was really good to get perspectives on these issues and on what's been happening. So today we've been given a really broad perspective of Tantra and the different ways it's been practiced around the world. I'd just like to finish with a discussion of the ways in which it's been whitewashed and if any of the original aspects of the scripture have been retained. And I'd just like to open up to the entire panel to give their opinion on this.
Right, so I'll go first, if that's all right, since you did mention the original scripture. I, for one, would say that almost none of the original teachings have been retained in this new commodified version of Tantra that is being sold around the world, especially in the West. And I think that's definitely British imperialism and colonialism, what happened in India, because so during this period of British occupation and the Victorian colonization of India, sort of Puritanism definitely drove tantric practitioners underground, which there were definitely a lot of back in Vedic times. And they were seen, and these specific tantric practices that were very closely linked to religious aspects, such as the goddess Kali, Shakti, Shiva, they were seen as just sort of horrific practices of this degenerate culture, and by doing so justified colonial rule. And this whole sort of the sexuality of people at the time in India within these tantric rituals, where men and women and people of all sort of genders would intoxicate themselves with alcohol, offer themselves to gods, and where meetings would wind up in these sacred ritualistic orgies. They were seen as immoral, just as tantric sexuality was. And so was the worship of women, such as the goddess Kali. She's a woman who takes on many forms, but that it was just once the British introduced this sort of new educational system that was based on this ideology of almost salvation of these heathens by converting them to Christianity, it meant that Indians at the time were then exposed to what you'd call, I guess, the Enlightenment rationality, or how it was seen in parts of the West, definitely in Britain, the UK. And it was this rejection. What followed closely after that was this rejection of ancient superstition and this imposed Christian construct of sexuality as sin. This ultimately led to the, this almost forking that Indian practices were not in accordance with this sort of Victorian Western mindset. And, it eventually excluded tantric practice from the field of education and knowledge in itself. And the extent to which British colonialism and tantric censorship has permeated the core of the Indian nation means that Tantra now mainly survives in very sort of small conservative folds of the Sri Vidya tradition of South India and in the Buddhist tradition of Tibet. What you see now in India is definitely Tantra is associated with sleazy massage parlors and tantric gurus promising these miracle cures and other sex scandals that definitely demonize Tantra. I mean, it's this whole idea of these gurus, as they call themselves now in India. They take these ideas of yoga and Tantra that have stemmed from the West, and they sell them back to tourists who seek the sort of initiation into the mysteries and myth of the East. To close up, I would like to say that just none of what is practiced today reflects the original scripture, the original meaning, the original rituals, and it's just this whitewashed, commodified version of Tantra that we're seeing today. Thank you.
Thank you. Amber, we'll move on to you. Would you like to respond to the claims that what you're doing is perpetuating the whitewashing of Tantra?
Yeah, Thomas, just back to your original question. We just went on a bit of a tangent there, but what I'm thinking is that the way that the term whitewashing is being used here is just an almost negative way of looking at a new way of doing things, and a modern and localizing, way of doing things. And I don't think that whitewashing is the correct term. I don't think we should be looking at this new practice and this new way of life and this new way of releasing these benefits for people in the world and connecting with ourselves. We shouldn't be thinking of that as a negative thing just because it might sway a little bit from the olden days. that's just a bit excessive, I think. And I think that we shouldn't shadow the benefits that tantric practice today is giving people just because of, the past.
Right.
So you're sorry, Varsha. I was just gonna quickly jump in and say something. So you're saying that you're not completely neglecting the fact that or you are just neglecting the original scripture and running this. You're calling it new sort of way of tantra to profit off of. Have you would you say you've modified tantra for your own profitability?
I would say that I have connected with and learnt a way to help people and to benefit their lives, and I have made a career out of it. And I benefit people's lives every single day with Tantra. I connect them to Tantra and I teach them Tantra, and they are grateful for me for doing that. And I don't regret anything that I do. I think that I make this world a better place sometimes. And that's what's important to me. And I think should be important to everyone, because we are Tantra. We are energy. We in ourselves encompass and generate this energy that needs to be released from these full body orgasms. And whatever way I can help people do that, that's what I believe in. And I'm sorry if that offends, the old scriptures or that, but
all right, amazing, Amber.
Nice.
So
and
you've just thank you so much. Thank you for admitting that you have deviated away from the original scriptures in
a necessary way
to benefit your customers, and some would say yourself, and some would say yourself as well. Let's move on to Poppy. We'll jump back to the original question and get your perspective.
Well, I do sympathize with Varsha and understand the concepts that she brought up. However, I also sympathize with Amber, and I understand that when you mix philosophy with business, it can seem exploitative. However, we do acknowledge the original scripture in various ways. We're not just offering sex at Agama, we're offering meditation, yoga, a variety of practices that come from the Tantric scripture. And yes, to a certain extent, it has been whitewashed, but it's also our way of attempting to preserve some of the practices of Tantric sex, the ones that are perhaps appropriate to modern day times.
So what you're saying is that you've modified the scripture also for your own benefit?
To a certain, Agama's a business, and I'm not attempting to deny that.
Of course. And you would also classify Amber's whatever body connect business. MindBodyConnect. My apologies, Amber.
Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat.
So you would agree, Poppy, that is a business that is profiting off of the modernization of Tantra?
Yes.
Westernization even. Yes. All right, of course. Thank you. And finally to Dr. Lin, just to get your idea of how, in particular, Poppy and Amber are taking Tantra, or in your field, mind experience that anyone can experience if they research it. What's your opinion on these two selling that, a normal scientific fact?
Yeah, again, I'm a medical scientist, and I don't know how much Neo-Tantra moved away from its original scriptures, but I got a strong feel that it's more like a combination between psychological practice and physiological therapies. And it might be shed some light to the medical science, to how to heal the body, how to how to deal with male who experience premature ejaculation. But and also the sexual assault thing, I think is people who are doing the wrong thing, and I'm definitely sure that it's not Tantra, really. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Dr. Lin. All right, well, that's all the time we have today. I'd like to thank you all for coming in and being on my podcast, Commodify. I think we've really delved into the ways in which Tantra has been appropriated and commodified. So yeah, thank you all.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Thomas.